Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. It does have several updates attached to it. It's from As Gay as the Day Monday and says, am I being the arsehole for not trusting my boyfriend anymore after he lied to me? It starts off by randomly saying, my dog is a little shit. I, female 35, love the booger, but my goodness. Last week, she got out the backyard while I was busy cooking my boyfriend's dinner for his birthday. My boyfriend, Mike, male 40, let the dog out during this time and didn't stay out with the digging arsehole. When I went to call her back, she was nowhere to be found. I live in an active city and on an active road, and I naturally was worried about her. But my boyfriend said she should be fine, as we are well known in the neighborhood for our clockwork walks and someone will see her and bring her back. I went out to look for her anyway, but couldn't find her. I didn't find her for 48 hours and I was crying from the stress. She's been my dog for 7 years, and I know it sounds odd to some, but she's my girl, my bestie, and I love the shit out of her. I would sob worrying she was injured or worse on the side of the road. Boyfriend said he tried to track the microchip, but for some reason it wouldn't work, and a leash had a tag on it with her location, but boyfriend didn't put it on her because, as he explained, she was just going outside. I have a new neighbor, a female 30-something, Josie, and turned out she had my dog. She found her tagless wandering her yard 3 doors down from me and didn't know her or me at all, so took her to the local vet who recognized my girl and called me. So my little shit was returned to me. I was overjoyed and was thanking Josie profusely, explaining how worried I was, and my boyfriend audibly sighed from behind me and said, well, thank fuck that's over. She ruined my birthday with that stunt. When Josie saw him, she looked confused but didn't say anything until I walked her out. She told me, you might not believe me, but he told me last night that you don't have pets. I was confused by this and kind of didn't believe her, but it nagged at me. So I checked our doorbell cam footage and there it was as clear as day. While I was out looking for my dog, Josie is showing him a photo and asking if he knew this dog, and he said no, that we don't have dogs, and suggested calling animal control. I woke my boyfriend up as he was asleep by this point on the couch and questioned him about this, and he denied, saying Josie is trying to stir up trouble. I have my dog, so things go back to normal now. And he slipped in that he deserves a makeup day for his ruined birthday. When I told him about the footage, I could see him get really still, and then he admitted to it. He said my dog is old, she's 8, so he was trying to spare me since she'll probably die soon, and he wants us to think about the future, not the past, and my dog is indicative of my past. I told him this made 0 sense to me. He saw me damn near fall apart worried about my dog, and now I can't so much as trust he didn't have anything more to do with her disappearing. He lost it at that, saying he just knew I would find a way to blame him for this and shouted, you love that bitch more than you love me. I told him that he's the bitch and a coward for lying and not being honest about clearly not liking my dog for the past year. Then I asked him to leave. He stared at me like, you're really going to kick me out right now over a dog? And I said absolutely, and he cussed me out and went to his place. I haven't read the texts he's been sending me, but it's been a lot of them. He's been gone 7 hours and I have 27 text notifications from him. He's talked to my brother, Blair, who called me to tell me I hurt Mike for caring more about an animal than him and not being able to just shut the fuck up, be an adult and celebrate my boyfriend's birthday. I'm confused because we've been together for a bit over a year and I spoiled the shit out of him. We met because of my dog and he seemed to really adore her this entire time. My brother, though, doesn't like me much these days, so I can't really tell if he's right and I'm the arsehole or he and Mike are just arseholes. So, am I the arsehole? Very simple for me, this one. It's an absolute not the arsehole and get rid of this person. He is unhinged, willing to do this kind of thing behind your back, deny your dog's existence, and I could only say, like, if someone did this to Poppy, I'd be absolutely gone in minutes. But Hiking and Pick says, oh my god, this is awful. You're not the arsehole and the ex truly is. So selfish and lying all this time. You need to keep this arsehole out of your life ASAP. Your dear bestie deserves to be safe and loved as only you do. Please keep focused on what is best for the long term. You and your best friend. Your brother is an asshole also. Neither boys know friendship and respect, just selfishness. OP says Blair has always sort of hated me. It's complicated, but it started after I was born as my mum passed away birthing me. It's been off and on as I look like her and have taken a similar career path. He only supports me when I act like mum or do what she would have wanted. I guess it's on me that I chose to date his friend. It's just that the relationship seemed good and suddenly my family was happy and I was included. I suppose this all just means more therapy for me. Then nothing P3 says, not the arsehole here, this guy is bad news. With his later behavior of denying your puppy's existence and suggesting animal control, which could have ended very badly for your little booger, and selfish concern for his special day, and needing a do-over, I think it's pretty clear he did more than just let your dog outside. I'm going to armchair diagnose, but this sounds like it could be some sort of personality disorder. Protect yourself and your puppy, and keep this guy gone before he does something worse to make sure all your attention is only on him. She's Oddly Merry says, I'm a little confused. You said he liked her. And what do you mean when you say he was good to you before? Is this a sudden change? Opie says sorry, it was just that he was sweet. Really sweet. When we met, he first went to her and pet her and complimented how cute she was and how well trained. His brother is a vet and he said that he loves dogs. He used to run me baths, hype me up, come to events for me. Now he is like this. So then OP came in with their first update and says, after my post, my boyfriend showed up at my door the next day with flowers and dog treats. I didn't let him in but talked through my screen door. He said he had time to think and was ashamed of his behavior and very sorry. He explained that he had abandonment issues and got scared when a friend put the idea in his head that I love my dog more than him. A friend, turns out, is my brother Blair. I told him I wasn't ready to deal with him yet and he asked why not, and I explained from my perspective everything sort of like my last post, and then added he shows up without letting me know he was coming, and he didn't even let me speak, and just launched into this grand apology. When I said I don't trust him right now, he started crying, and I mean the ugly, hysterical kind. He said this stemmed from his mother leaving the family. From what I know of the story, she walked out on him and his family when he was 13, and that I am his person and he loves me and just lost his mind a little. It's one mistake, one. I'm sorry. He kept saying it over and over, and maybe I'm a broken person, but I didn't feel anything in the moment. I watched him crying and saying sorry and basically groveling, and I just wasn't having any of it. I said we need to talk, but I wasn't ready to have that talk at the moment and need space. He begged me to let him in and only left when the neighbors came by to ask if everything was okay. And he just snapped and told him to fuck off and left. Not sure what I'm even doing anymore, or what I will do with him, or my brother. For now, I'm just sitting on a local restaurant patio with my doggo, sipping margaritas and trying not to cry. What the fuck? OK Boysenberry says to OP on the back of this one, no, hell no. You can't still be entertaining the idea of taking this guy back, right? Right? And what the shit is with your fucking brother? What is this guy's damage? OP said Blair and I used to be close, but I am queer and came out 5 years ago. And he also came out as a homophobe. I can't really get into it all because it's a lot, but suffice to say, our relationship went downhill when his bigotry started to show. I guess that makes me an idiot because when he introduced me to my boyfriend, I should have been more suspicious. He was so supportive of us and my boyfriend was sweet and kind and never had a problem with my open queerness and never got insecure or weird about it. He came with me to Pride events and would post about it on social media. He wore matching rainbow outfits and the works. Now, I don't trust it. OP came in with another update and says, hey Reddit, this is long, but I had to fit in a lot. Well, it gets progressively worse. Not an hour after my last post, my phone is ringing off the damn hook. It's my brother Blair. According to my phone screen, and sure it's his number, but who is it really? My dad, whose number I have blocked for 1,000 reasons. Here's just a few I think are important. Like I mentioned somewhere in my previous post or comment, my mother died giving birth to me. Blair always blamed me low-key, but my dad blamed me entirely. There's no way around it. He was just straight up abusive. He named me my mother's name, and growing up he was strict on my appearance as he demanded I keep my hair the same style as her, never dye it another colour since I have the same colour hair as her. I don't need glasses, but he gave me frames like hers. You get the picture. He would physically hurt me and tell me I killed her if I even tried to sway off the path of becoming her. But for most of this time, I thought this was somewhat normal, until I talked about it to others. We were pretty strained after that, and I can fill pages with stories of why I'm low contact with him, and keep him and Blair and my eldest brother Jack all on an information diet. But I know I might be pushing the bounds of some readers' patience here, so I will move on. Dad started to yell at me. Not unusual, at first about me blocking him. He had been blocked for about a week at that point, and it was temporary. I sometimes have to block him because once every little while he starts to push back on my boundaries or gets downright mean. When I unblock him and reaffirm boundaries, he behaves for a bit. Then he went on to then add that now he's hearing that I kicked out the nice young man. I'm seeing over a small spat and launched into how my mother was never a vengeful woman. She was calm, rational, understanding, yada yada fucking yada. He eventually runs out of steam and finally stops. And there is a long pause and he says, "Well, what have you got to say for yourself?" And I say, "Nothing," and just hang up. So then my boyfriend Mike shows up again, not long after. Y'all, this is the same day as when he came before, with my dad and Blair. Mike is demanding I let them in. Blair has walked around to my back door and tries to open it. My car is in the garage, so I just keep quiet, stay in the back room with Booger and listen. They are talking to one another, walking around my house, and finally start saying that I might not be home. They call me several times and send texts via Blair's phone, and after about 10 minutes they give up and leave. I watch my ring cam footage and there is a moment where Mike warns the others about the cam and says he's pretty sure there is a camera around the whole property. Which wasn't true at the time, but I guess he was paranoid. So they retreated to my dad's car and sat there for a while, then drove off, but passed by the house at least twice. I waited for about 2 hours, ignoring my phone, packed a bag for me and Booger while calling a close friend, Aria, female 35, who lived a bit north of me, and explaining. Booger and I stayed with her for a full week in that time. Her brother was by, got keys from me, bought and installed more cameras on my property, gathered more things for me and Booger like medications I had forgotten and the like, and helped me make a police report about the visit. The camera showed that Dad and Mike came by collectively 4 more times, 2 times each, and I have the phone record proving that after I messaged all 3 of them to leave me alone for the time being, they refused. Mike demanded via text that we have a talk. It has to be in person, and my dad would separately say the same via Blair's phone. Police appeared on my door cam saying that they were there for a welfare check. I explained through the cam that I am fine but away. One of them said he would level with me. He's a friend of Dad and said my dad is mighty worried about me and I should come home to speak with him, and said, as a father, if my little girl vanished this way, no one could convince me she is okay and taken care of until she's right in front of me and taken care of. Thank God Aria and her brother had made me make the report, because despite it not being a crime in the moment and thus not actionable, I was able to explain that there is a report on them trespassing and that I now also have further footage of them continuing to do so, and I feared for my safety and that of my pet. I made a point to ask how I can press charges for harassment, and why the cop didn't say directly that I shouldn't. He tap danced around it and said I would probably have to do that in person, and said they could come to me and ask where I was. I stopped responding and called the police department directly, and we made another report. I guess it's a freaking mystery as to how Dad found out I wanted to press charges, because he sent me a long text of how disappointed in me he is, and that I'm a monster and hateful, and was broken for trying to punish him for being a loving father who was worried about his only daughter. I'm not his only daughter, but he disowned my half-sister. Long story, and that he is now lightheaded. Sometimes dizzy, feeling faint, and he thinks it's the stress of all this. Maybe it's time for me to be reunited with your mother. I've missed her. I'm so tired. And continues on a long rant of how depressed he is. Unsurprisingly, Blair's next set of texts were a tone shift from the former. How dare you, to short and vague. Look, I know you're mad at me right now, but please reach out. I'm worried about Dad. And Dad is staying with me. I think he's sick, but he won't go to the doctor. Imploring me to call him because he will listen to you. And updates on his on and off again hunger strike. But the one I fell for makes me feel like the biggest chump of the century. I just got him back to the house, the proud new owner of a small taser. I'm not a gun person, which is laughable, I know, as I live in a very pro-gun state in the USA. and ignored 3 consecutive calls from Blair. He left 3 voicemails. 1, Dad is acting strange and I'm worried, please call. 2, can you please text Dad to let me take him to the doctor, as he's refusing and he hasn't eaten in nearly a week. And then 3, Dad has collapsed. The ambulance is taking us to the hospital and I don't know which yet. Followed by a text that Dad doesn't have very long, they're saying, so please come quickly. So my dumbass responds to that asking what hospital, and he says that he is waiting at a restaurant next door to the hospital nearest my home. I know it was next level stupid, but I was in panic mode. He's my only living parent, and he's a monster, a bigot, a narcissist son of a bitch, but he's my dad and the only I've got. I could not fathom Blair lying about something like this. He told me to meet him at the restaurant because we need a game plan, but to hurry because we need to get back to Dad. And I call Aria hysterical, telling my dad might be dying and all that happened. Aria listened to me and then said something like, listen to me, stop for a minute. If it were my dad, I wouldn't be at a fucking restaurant. I'd be glued to his side, and if the staff wouldn't allow it, I'd be camped out in the waiting room. She made it clear that no one in this situation would be elsewhere where a person they loved had moments to live. I felt stupid, but she was right. I called the hospital and no one by my surname, as a unique one, was brought in. When Blair texted again, I lied and said I was there at the front desk asking where Dad was. He got mad at me, going on like, why would you go there without talking to me? And I asked him to tell me the truth. Is Dad there or not? He hung up on me. Dad texted me soon after. Well, I see now that you don't care about us at all. Good to know. I replied, but it returned as undeliverable. He blocked me. I tried calling Blair back. He also blocked me. Over 2 days, I realized they blocked me on mostly everything. Then Mike texted that second day asking if I was ready to talk. I said sure, and he suggested the same restaurant, and it was like this ooh moment. I suggested just to have a call, but he insisted it has to be in person and asked me to be mature about this as we are adults. So I replied, okay, adult to adult, were you with Blair there? And he took an hour to reply, and in that time, I threw in another fib. I said, I want to give you a chance to tell me the truth because I was there, so... And when he replied, he said it was an intervention. According to him, I've been mentally unstable for a while now, and he said that I also may not know it, but I'm an alcoholic. He drinks more frequently than me, and I usually only drink wine socially when he has whiskey every night. And he has been talking to Blair and eventually my dad too about it, so they wanted to sit me down and support me. He said he needs to move in full time to help me through this and more. I didn't even argue with him. I replied that there is footage and phone records of harassment, and lying about my dad dying was honestly so low it was slightly less ludicrous than this half-baked fiction he, and likely my dad and brother, have come up with to gaslight me. I told him we are over and to not come near me, my home, or Booger ever again, and blocked him. I know that was long, but honestly I cut out a lot, and I'm sorry that it's not more empowering breakup story, where I saw through the BS and ended things in a dignified and clean way, but honestly, it's just what happened, and I'm mentally focused on putting my house on the market to move. Aria has cleared out her home, office and guest room of her work stuff so Booger and I can stay with her until I find a new place, and I'm dealing with trying to get restraining orders, which is harder than I expected. Oh, and Booger is good. She loves Aria's place and her 2 dogs and cat. Plus the neighborhood has far more children, and they're outside a lot as school hasn't started yet here, so she sits at the front with me or Aria's partner, and gets pets non-stop. She's in heaven. Lol. And we do have another update in a moment, but that just sounds so incredibly scary. These 3 people trying to lure you into some kind of intervention, going around your house, sneaking around your house trying to find you. Absolutely terrifying. Opie updated again and saying, hi, it's your super messy friend with a super dick ex. Not super dick in the fun sense. Link here and etc. Then shares the link and says, I don't want to get into it, but kind of need to vent, and some of you / most of you have been really helpful, insightful and kind. So, Mike has been weaving the narrative that I am mentally ill. He knows I suffer from depression and PTSD, and for whatever reason he is saying I was and am a misdiagnosed schizophrenic. It was relentless, and Blair and Dad have been backing him. It got to the point that I had enough and hired a lawyer. Cease and desist and 1 restraining order. My father is such a psycho. Long story. Later, and Mike is back on my doorstep. He's now demanding that Booger is his dog too, and he has rights to her, and he is worried about her safety with such a mentally unstable parent. Me, it seems. So I said, oh, did I mention this all through the door cam? That I now have footage, again, of him being the unstable one, and his weird manipulative threat, on top of me having actual footage of him saying he doesn't even have a pet, would debunk him. I don't know all of what happened because feed cut out, but it looks like the man lost his fucking mind and dismantled my Ring cam. At least without my other cameras he did not know were then installed, showing him doing so. Good thing I have a lawyer. OP starts their next update with the link again and saying, this is going to be long because I'm so fucking livid. TLDR, Mike is making breaking up utter hell and stole my dog. Now I've had to move for my and my dog's safety. Has it even been 2 weeks? But now this. A single fucking day after my last post, I was packing up for an impromptu trip Aria was taking me on, partly to help me relax and partly to get me the hell out of that damn house, so my father, brother and ex would not know where I was. As such, I got Booger to the groomers. We planned to be away while and she was due anyway. I thought I was being a reasonable dog mum. And I'm an idiot because I was so frazzled about everything else, I completely forgot to tell them that Mike is not permitted anymore to pick her up. So I go to run errands while Booger got a spa treatment. Don't you dare judge me. She deserves a spa treatment every once in a while. Being a couch potato is stressful, grueling work, you know. And when I return, I am told by the front desk that your husband picked her up. I swear to you, my voice simply stopped existing. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I just crumpled to the ground and sobbed. He knew the groomer, knew the staff. He would sometimes pick her up for me back when we were together. And I didn't protect my baby by preempting this. How could I have been so fucking stupid? His life mission is getting rid of her. It should have been one of the first things I did. I removed him everywhere else and I didn't know I missed this. The staff had come to the desk to help me to a chair and I just wailed. I think I managed to say enough. The police were called and I could barely speak even to them. They asked if there was someone I could call, any family, and I cried more. I have no one. If anything, my father and maybe brother would help Mike do this. I managed to think and call Aria and she was on her way. But it was then I looked at my phone. He'd text me. The fucker actually texted me, starting with, "Hi baby," as if everything that happened in all this time was absolutely non-existent. He said not to worry, he has Booger as he picked her up for you, and he is cooking us dinner at his, and I can pick her up after dinner. Then he ended it with, "Love you," with a kiss face emoji. It was so unfucking believable. I could only just show the cops. One of them asked if they could look through my chat history and I said yes and unlocked all the features and she did. I'd forgotten all the abusive, manipulative and awful things that moron texted me because the cop just pulled a colleague aside and showed him the screen a few times. I saw him look back at me a couple of times and he left the building. When he returned, he asked me if I had called the police about Mike before and I said yes. He went through all the times that I called in and I confirmed and told him some of it verbally then. Aria arrived and she gave her own rendition of the situation and stuck it to them that we did everything we were supposed to do by calling them about this, and we were told they would not help. If Booger is hurt, she will raise an unholy inferno over their useless department. She started to take charge in the absence of my ability to and asked what they planned to do. They needed paperwork. Booger's papers are all in my name and the groomer is attached to the vet who provided the adoption and intake paperwork of Booger, which proved I was solely her owner legally. The police went to his home to get Booger, and what I understand to have happened, because I was not there and was only told the official story. Mike let them in, showed the dinner he made. He seemed confused and didn't understand why the police were involved. He made it out that we had a bad spat and were working it out, but I am mentally unstable and heavily medicated. I told him of the groomer's appointment and asked him to pick my dog up. They asked where Booger was and he said he didn't have her anymore as my family picked her up so that he and I can have a private intimate night to make up and work on our relationship. I was home waiting and I had to deal with another cop coming by and asking me about my mental health, as if I am a danger to myself or anyone because Mike said that he's concerned that I'm unpredictable and abusive. Once again I showed the text and some footage of it being the polar opposite. Once again I explained that all what I was showing him and more I've already turned over to the police. By now I had reached my lawyer who advised I answer any and all questions pertaining to this specific situation, getting my dog back and nothing more. So I shut up and simply provided info necessary to this. They found Booger at Blair's, but now Blair had his own story, that I was mentally unstable and unable to care for her. so I asked him to take Booger to a shelter as I didn't have the heart to do it myself. He couldn't provide any proof, so they took Booger with them and brought her home. Booger came for me immediately, straining against the leash to get to me, and I cried on my front doorstep apologizing to her as if she understood what all just happened. But she was happy and excited. I bet she loved being in a cop cruiser. She was just happy to be alive as per usual. The policewoman who handed me her leash gave us information on where to get the paperwork about today's events and said she cannot offer me legal advice, but to be sure to lock everything up tonight and to call if anything happens. I did take Booger to the vet, and the tests that have all come back show she is perfectly fine. I've now packed up the majority of my house, and what is not in storage has been moved to Arias. I'm working on preparing to sell it. I can't even imagine going back to that damn place. Mike left me a voicemail lamenting that I sicked the police on him, when all he had ever tried to do was love me, how patient he has been with my mental illness and my obsession with my mutt. But he now is seeing that my father was right. I don't deserve him. I will never find anyone like him who will love me because I don't deserve love. And when I realize what I've lost due to my self-centered attitude, I better hope he hasn't moved on. But he's there if I ever decided to grow up and be a real woman and try to fix this with him. But he's not going to wait around forever. An emergency protective order was pushed through thanks to my lawyer. From Mike and Blair, Blair was stupid enough to blow up my phone after the police took Booger to berate me. I don't know what he said, as I just forwarded everything to my lawyer, but either apparently was enough. My father lost it. I'm told I wouldn't know. He doesn't know where I am and has no way to reach me now. Mike is trying to Uno reverse my domestic abuse complaints and say I'm the one abusing him, and that's why he fled to his place. He maintains that I asked him to take Booger and Blair is backing him up. My lawyer says not to worry because no one is taking the claim seriously, since we have so much overwhelming documentation of both them harassing me. I've been at Arias and we're taking the trip tomorrow. Booger is a road dog and loves car rides, so I know she'll be very excited. The city we're going to is incredibly dog friendly, so she'll be with us every step of the way. I'm not letting her out of my sight. Aria helped me go through every bit of info and make sure Mike is removed off everything now. All Booger's appointments, all my medical paperwork, all package sign-offs, you name it. All mail and packages are being rerouted to Arias and Mike doesn't know where that is. She has another home she rents out as an Airbnb, so once the current tenants are out, she's setting me up to stay there until I find a new job out of town and move. I'm just glad to have her with me right now because I haven't been able to sleep. I've barely been able to even be around food, let alone eat it. Booger was gone for maybe a total of 5 hours as a whole, but I swear to God it felt like a lifetime. I've set virtual appointments with my counseling team and might need to get something to help me sleep. But last night, Booger popped up into bed with me and just plopped down and snuggled beside me. I think she knows I'm stressed and the only clear cure is cuddles. She's not entirely wrong. My mind is racing because what would have happened if I didn't already have a lawyer pushing the return of my dog along? Or Aria, who was speaking up for me when I was a useless fucking blob on the floor crying and accomplishing absolutely nothing. I feel like a failure because it was the time for me to get things done, and all I did was cry like a child. Booger deserves better than me. What if he had decided in those hours to just get rid of her or do worse to her? What was his whole plan? And why the fuck would Blair help him? I know he hates me, but Jesus Christ. All I know for now is that I'm no contact with all 3 of those bastards, and by the time my protective order is up for review next month, new job or no, I will have yanked every route I placed down here and get the fuck out of here. Wow, OP has been through an absolute roller coaster and it sounds like they are still going through it. I'm so glad to hear that both OP and the doggo are safe at the moment and they got some support like Aria in this situation because they sound terrifying. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.